Hey everybody, welcome back to Auto Scholar with Mr. B. I'm Mr. B. Don't forget to like the video if it taught you anything, and of course subscribe to the channel. And today we have this 2011 Range Rover Sport HSE, Sport Utility Vehicle, and we are going to go ahead and put rear brake pads on and rear calipers. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is put this vehicle into service mode for the rear brakes. Unfortunately, I could not find anything that was allowing me to put this vehicle into service mode, so I'm going to use a scan tool. If you by chance have a video that shows how to put this vehicle into service mode or some type of procedure, please link it in the comments and I'll link it to the description to help everybody out. However, I'm just going to use a Snap-on Zeus scan tool or an Autel scan tool to go ahead and retract the electronic parking brake on this vehicle so we can go ahead and service this vehicle properly. So first thing we have to do is go ahead and lift the vehicle up and get the rear tires off and expose the rear brakes so we can go ahead and change them. We're going to do that on the next episode of Auto Scholar with Mr. B. Okay, so got the car lifted up, got the wheel off. Now the first thing we're going to do is just loosen these bolts. They are 13 millimeter. And you're going to run into this right here turning, okay? So we're going to get some pliers here to hold them. So almost every manufacturer uses these style bolts here, European manufacturers. And what I normally do, you can't get, it's probably 17 in there and you can't really get anything on it. So I just grab some vice grips, go around the end. And there's not a whole lot of torque on this, you just need to hold it still. So no need to clamp down too crazy on it. Just until it loosens up. Trying to stay out of the way of the camera as much as I can. That comes off. We'll clamp down here on the top. To grab the absolute worst vice grips we ever had. Don't appear to be locking. It's all right, we'll just hold them. And we just need to grab something. We need to pry on this. So we can just move these out. Gently pry on it. This will pop out. And we're going to stick this up here so it doesn't stretch out. Now on the other side, which I'm not going to be able to film because I'm too close to the wall over there, you'll have a brake pad sensor. It either needs to be replaced or removed and added to the new pads. If you have a light on that says you need brake pads, you're probably going to need to replace that. So we got these out. You can see they're pretty worn. And so now we have to take this caliper bracket off. And I'm going to show you how to lubricate these pins. Definitely want to do that. Okay, so for this caliper bracket, it's a 15 millimeter. You're going to need a 12-point socket because it's a 12-point headed bolt. And they're going to be pretty tight. So you may need a breaker bar to get these off. All right. So now we have to take our rotor off. Placing the rotors. These are pretty deeply grooved here. So it's definitely time for some rotors. Have some heat marks. Looks like it's a T50. loose. Also, if you have to adjust your parking brake, that's the hole you use right there to adjust your parking brake. You have a star adjuster underneath here, which I'll show you here in just a second. All right, so we're gonna need to get a hammer and break the rust seal around here till we can get this rotor off. Okay, so to get the rotor off, you don't want to hit the rotor face. You want to take you a hammer. It doesn't have to be a big hammer. And just hit. May take a little wiggling, and that'll come right off. And what you want to do is you want to go ahead and take some brake cleaner, spray in here, clean all this up. Do not use air. Compressed air in here is going to bring all those particles out. You can breathe that in and can cause some issues later on down in life. So we got the rotor off. We'll go ahead and take the bracket over here to the workbench and show you how I prepare the bracket and the pads for installation. Okay, so I have our caliper bracket right here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull these out right there. This is our old caliper slide, and I'm gonna clean this grease off and lubricate it with some silicone brake lubricant here. You wanna make sure you do this every time you do the brakes, because if any water or anything gets down in here and there's no grease in there, it can rust and cause your caliper to stick and give you a brake pull or uneven pad wear. So these just pop out, and you'll notice some old dirty grease on here. You may want to clean these out. Definitely want to clean these slides here if your new pads don't come with them, and ours don't. Our little landings for where our brake pads go. And for our brake pads, I also lubricate right here, and I put a little bit of lubricant back here just to keep the caliper cup or the caliper itself from vibrating, okay? And that's gonna cause noise as well. So you wanna lubricate everything very well and make sure that you don't get any of this lubricant on the brake pad surface, this surface right here, or on the rotor. Okay, now we have to compress the caliper. I'm gonna show you guys how I do this. It's called back flushing the caliper. So what you want to do is make sure you have a drain pan here. Get your old brake pad, and I'm gonna use a C-clamp. I have a better tool for this, but I figure y'all probably using a C-clamp, so I will as well. And seems like you need about 3 hands to do it this way. And get this tightened up. And I'm not going to go in right now. First thing I want to do before I got it tightened up enough now, I want to go ahead and loosen the bleeder as I'm pushing this caliper back in. The reason why is you have a lot of sediment down here in this caliper, and rather than pushing it back up through the system, we back flush the caliper. So just open the bleeder, make sure when you do this that nobody is pressing the brakes, and then this C-clamp sucks. Then gently start compressing the caliper. And when you do that, fluid will come out of the caliper and enter the pan. And it's going to flush anything gross out of the caliper. It's also going to be very easy to press in. And once you get it in, just loosen it up and let that old brake pad fall. And we're going to retorque the bleeder. And that is going to make sure that nothing in this caliper goes upstream and gets hung in the master cylinder, ABS unit, anything like that. So that's the safest way to do this, guys. You just want to make sure that you check your brake fluid level after you get done with this, because this will drop the level a little bit. Not enough to cause any issues, but just enough to need to top it off. All right, so we have the new rotor here. We have cleaned it off, made sure that there's no more packing grease or anything on it. You definitely want to do that. Just get some brake cleaner or some soapy water and clean that off. And it's going to clock in to where this bolt fits in there, that Torx bolt. Go ahead and fasten it. Doesn't have to be crazy tight. All this does is just keep everything still. It's mostly used for assembly. All right, now we're going to take our bracket, make sure that we've greased our slides like I discussed. Put our bolts back on. And these bracket bolts will torque down to 85 foot-pounds, which is a lot. Always retorque these properly. Next, we'll go on to installing the brake pads. Push your pins in. Make sure you don't have this twisted. Go ahead and thread these in. These will torque to 26 foot-pounds. The 13mm bolts will. Just, you may have to hold these so you can tighten everything up. "26 foot-pounds" on these. Just like that, and then we're all set to put the wheel back on. Okay, so that does it for Auto Scholar with Mr. B for today. I'm going to go ahead and start filming another video on doing the front brakes as well, so look for that along in the description here if you need to do the front brakes. It's a lot easier to do than the back brakes, actually. So again, like the video, subscribe to the channel if it taught you anything. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments and I'll answer them as soon as I can. And thank you for watching Auto Scholar with Mr. B.